Before we get started on this episode, I wanted to do a cold intro on this episode. Welcome into episode 36. I'll do another intro after this cold intro. I wanted to just come on here and say rest in peace, Devontae Davis, former Colt, Bill, and Dolphin. He he's famously known for calling his grandmother after he was cut from the Dolphins. Had that famous clip, which is heartwarming, as a way to put it. And then he's also famously known for he's the guy who retired mid game, just set up and quit mid game. But he passed away this week at the age of 35. Rest in peace, Devontae Davis, and prayers out to his family. I'm going to do a moment of silence before we get started with this episode.
Cause you only need the light when it's burning low. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go. Only know you've been high when you're feeling low. Only hate the road when you're missing home. Only know you love her when you let her go. Only know you've been high when you're feeling low. Only hate the road when you're missing home. Only know you love her when you let her go. Cause you only need the light when it's burning low. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go.
Welcome to episode 36 of Uncaged Sports Talk. I know I just repeated myself, but should be a very fun episode. I have a guest on this week, a returning guest. We're going to discuss the final four of the men and women's tournaments for the NCAA and Wrestlemania 40. I know me and him are both very excited for Wrestlemania in Philadelphia at Lincoln Financial Field, the Big 40 XL WrestleMania 40 this weekend. Going to be an exciting weekend. As you can tell by my background, pictures from when I was at WrestleMania 29. Very excited for this event. Without further ado, though, going to introduce Trey. Trey, what are you looking forward to most this weekend? Either Final Four or Mania.
I would have to say from this weekend, it's just gonna be great being back at a WrestleMania. I also was there at 29, so it's kind of great just to see the fact that it's actually now back here locally.
Yeah.
Being able to go again. A lot of good matches on the card though. You see a lot of good build, especially a lot of good build ups to the matches.
Yeah.
So it's something I think it's gonna be a good one.
I'll ask you later on what matches you're looking forward to most on both nights. I know my match on night one. I think I've told you, I texted you about it, but we'll get into that shortly. Without further ado, though, we're going to get into the NCAA Women's Final Four. Who do you think is going to come out on top in this Final Four? What do you think the national championship game is going to be, and who do you think comes out on top?
South Carolina versus NC State. There's a reason South Carolina is a double-digit favorite. They are that good. Obviously, they're undefeated at 36-0. They're just rolling through everybody. I think they're gonna relatively easily get to the national championship again. Iowa, UConn, Caitlin and Paige, they're just amazing in their own rights. I think I can see. It's hard to pick against UConn when UConn is finally back to being good. But Caitlin Clark in Iowa, I know it's not she's like the one woman show, but she actually has a good team behind her. A lot of good players there.
Yeah.
I think it's Iowa, South Carolina.
And who do you
At
think
least
comes out on top?
It's hard to pick against South Carolina.
Yeah.
Against an undefeated team. It's just they're Dawn Staley has them
Defending national
rolling for how
champs.
many years? Yeah, defending national champs. I can't see Dawn Staley losing.
Yeah. One thing I did notice before I make my picks, NC State and UConn both being in the men's and women's. That's got to be great for both of those schools. Like you got you got a good chance to be in a national championship having 4 potential teams in different sports potentially get there. UConn has 2, the men and women's. NC State has both that could potentially get to the national championship, which is just wild.
It's just
That
kind of interesting, just because I mean, you have UConn, who the men are obviously the defending national
yeah,
champion. The women are under Gino Auriemma. They've always, even though they had a couple of down years the last couple of years, they're still a power. NC State, I mean, the women at least are good. The men, yeah, we all saw this
they're
coming.
on a
Surely,
run.
yeah, we all saw
Yeah,
the 11 seed having to win a conference tournament to get in the tournament, and then still just knocking off people left and right. That is just kind of a fun story, like to see how
yeah.
it just played out.
I remember when they beat Duke in the ACC tournament. We both had Duke on our parlays, the men's side of things. I was like, "What the." I did not expect NC State going on a run. Even after that, I was like, okay, NC State's for highly underrated, having
I
gone on
mean,
this run.
I did say on the last time I was here, once you have a team going on a run like that, they're gonna make at least a little noise in the tournament. I didn't mean this.
Yeah. I'll make my predictions real quick for the women's Final Four. I think it's fairly obvious South Carolina is going to beat NC State most likely. I don't think NC State gives them a scare. Then you got Paige Buckers, I believe it is how you say her last name, versus Caitlin Clark. UConn versus Iowa. Caitlin Clark is the story of college basketball this season, men and women's side of things. She's the story of college basketball. I think Iowa wins this game on the back of Caitlin Clark. National championship, Caitlin Clark versus South Carolina. The defending national champs get it done. Undefeated. South Carolina gets it done. Dawn Staley leads South Carolina to another national championship. I don't think anyone would really disagree with that. South Carolina gets it done on the women's side of things.
The one thing I also want to say is it's just at least kind of cool to me, because there's a lot of people who don't follow women's basketball, and because of Caitlin Clark, I will say right now, I'm not an Iowa fan ever, but as a Penn Stater, but what she's done for the game has been tremendous. And even
Yeah,
right now, I think they announced that I think the highest ticket for the Final Four in the women's side is, I believe, double what the men's is,
that's
and
wild.
that's because of her. So
Did you
it's just props to her.
did you see how much the Big Three is offering her?
Yeah,
Five
five
million.
million, which is probably more than she would make in her career in the WNBA. So
That's wild.
yeah,
$5 million. I'd take that in a heartbeat. I'd quit
that's,
playing college
I
basketball if
don't know.
they want me to.
I don't know what she's gonna decide, but there's a lot of good offers for her on the table.
$5 million is nuts. That's wild. Moving on to the men's side of things, you got Purdue versus NC State. Purdue's on a Virginia type of run. Lost against a 16 seed and has a chance to go to the national championship. And then UConn, Alabama. I'll let you give your picks and then I'll give my picks.
It's funny, before this tournament, I had said actually all year coming into the tournament, before the tournament, that I want to pick Purdue because I see them doing the exact same thing as Virginia. They were that good. They were that embarrassed last year. They were going to do the exact same thing as Virginia did. And then I went against everything, and I went with Houston, who didn't see, obviously, that. I mean, Houston ended up having their best player injured. NC State took out Duke. Listen, UConn is just rolling as a team. I think their lowest win total in the last 2 tournaments is 13 points or something.
Yeah,
The
they won
lowest
by
win.
10 points, 10,
Yeah.
10 plus every.
They've
tournament
won
game.
every game by double digits. Alabama's going to be good, but I can't. UConn's going to make that. If it's 11 games in a row, well, 10 games in a row, it's going to be 11.
Yeah.
Purdue and NC State is going to be fun to watch. DJ Burns is he's just a great player to watch.
Future NFL offensive lineman.
He looks like it. Zach Edey is going to finally have matchup with somebody that can match his size a lot better than most. I still think it's a UConn Purdue matchup though.
Yeah.
I think the Cinderella sliver finally gets off of NC State, and UConn and Purdue. I want to say Purdue is going to probably end up doing it and pulling the Virginia, but UConn is too good of a team.
Yeah, it's like you can't bet against UConn in this. Like I think UConn beats Alabama. First of all, with Alabama, I did not think they were going to even beat Charleston. And then their offense put up 100 points. But we both had Alabama losing round 1. And now they're here. I got UConn beating Alabama, though. UConn just on a tear. They're on a mission. I mentioned fatigue 2 weeks ago. Like, fatigue could set in the tournament for them. No fatigue set in whatsoever. There has been no sign of fatigue yet.
I mean, they've been able to just rest people with how much they're winning by.
There's been no sign of fatigue yet, having 2 deep runs back to back. Now, NC State Purdue. The DJ Burns story is wild. He was actually recruited in the same class as Zion Williamson. He was in that same recruiting class. And now there's a bunch of NFL teams out there trying to get him to come to a pro day so they can see if he would be able to be an offensive lineman in the NFL, which is just crazy to me. But you do have stories like Jordan Mailata, who never played football a day in his life and then became an offensive lineman as a good offensive lineman now. So maybe DJ Burns, if he wants to try to make that transition, could. But it's just...
We do actually. I do actually have a quick. Speaking of Penn State for a quick second, Ross Travis used to play on the basketball team, went and got picked up by the Chiefs. It happens. Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, it happens quite a bit. I mean, Jimmy Graham, I think, is one of the most well-known ones. Played, I think it was North Carolina. Now he played. Obviously, he played for the Saints.
Yeah, he played tight end in the NFL and played college basketball. Antonio Gates played college basketball, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just a decent amount of people who have made a transition, but DJ Burns hasn't played one lick of college football. He would just be thrown right into the fire, which would be a crazy story. But back to the matchup, NC State, Purdue. I think Purdue gets it done here. Purdue's on a Virginia type of run, like what you said as well. But UConn just so good. I don't see Purdue beating UConn. UConn's on a mission. They're going for back-to-back. No team's given them a scare yet. UConn gets it done in the national championship this year.
Also, it's weird to me because we talked about Alabama. You didn't think Alabama was even going to get past round 1. It's kind of amazing that they lost Brandon Miller and got better somehow after last year. Didn't see it. Yeah, definitely didn't see that coming.
Which of the 2 Final Fours are you more excited for? Which are you going to pay more attention to?
Definitely Purdue and NC State.
Well,
like I said, I think UConn's going to roll.
Well, between
the men's and the women's.
Yeah.
It more than likely will be the men's. I think the women will have better games though.
Yeah. I think between the 2, I think I definitely want to tune into the national championship on the women's side because I expect UConn to fully win on the men's side without really a scare for the most part. But I want to watch Caitlin Clark versus South Carolina, Caitlin Clark versus UConn and Paige Buckers, however you say that last name. I think it's Buckers, maybe Bukers. You may have had it right before we came on the show. But I want to watch those matchups. Caitlin Clark's the story of college basketball, men or women's this year. Moving on. Before we move on, I want to let you all know to head and visit my friend Dan the Man Stanley at Sheridan Nissan, or they will hook you up with the new car. Just let them know Luke Sarankin on Cage Sports Talk sent you. Moving on, I want to show some of my picks from WrestleMania 29, it's insane. It was 11 years ago. In the top left, I was getting an autograph from Antonio Cesaro. Bottom left, autograph from, I believe his name's Brian Myers now, Kurt Hawkins, if people know who that is. Climbing the ladder to get the Money in the Bank contract. Cutout of Dolph Ziggler. You got Randy Orton and Big Show and Sheamus at the top middle. Pick of Roman Reigns next to that. The Shield next to that. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins going at it in the night one main event. Picture of me next to Andre the Giant. I was probably 5'1" then, so 11 years ago. 5'2". I don't know how much I grew in that amount of time, but picture next to me and Andre the Giant, I look like a midget. Sorry if that's offensive to anyone. I look like I don't know the word. You have a better word to use. That's the first one that came to mind. Sorry, it's not politically correct.
You look like a kid. There, I saved you from it.
I think even at my height now, I would look small next to that 7-footer. Moving on to the next slide of things. Ryback picking up Mark Henry in the top left. That was a really cool moment at WrestleMania 29. Do you remember the story? I didn't know this at the time, but the Triple H picture right there, he got dry ice on his stomach as he was walking to the ring.
I did not actually.
Yeah, there's actually clips. His water bottle that he usually carries to the ring, or he used to carry to the ring, he starts pouring that on his body because he got dry ice on his stomach from his entrance, which is wild. And then he wrestled a match, which is just crazy to me. Then you got some cool Undertaker shots. My dad actually took these pictures on a digital camera, which is just wild to me. Like 11 years ago, a digital camera was being used. Nowadays, you just take it on your phone. What's your favorite moments from WrestleMania 29? You have any moment that sticks out from that?
The biggest, before I even say that, it's kind of funny that we're both planning on going to WrestleMania 40, and then we have ended up both, before we knew each other, ended up being at WrestleMania 29 together. I thought you had actually been to 35, not 29. So
No,
it's just kind of, it's kind of funny how it worked out that we ended up basically both going to two different ones together. The biggest thing I think from WrestleMania 29 was just the whole Rock versus Cena, the once in a lifetime match that ended up happening twice. But then it kept, and that's just the one that stuck in my head more than anything else, was just once in a lifetime, that we had twice. But it was a good experience. It wasn't one of the best overall WrestleManias that I've ever seen in general, but it still was just fun to be at and just be part of.
Yeah, I remember that day from the pictures you saw. Me and my dad had went to WrestleMania Access at the Odds Center, then walked over and went to my first ever WrestleMania, which seeing Undertaker while he still had the streak. His entrance as a 13-year-old kid gave me chills, literally gave me chills down my spine. Triple H with his career on the line versus Brock Lesnar. You said you actually didn't even remember that match, which is wild. You had the John Cena Rock match. I remember John Cena did the fake out, like he hit the ropes, he got caught the previous year in a rock bottom after doing that because he paused and waited for the Rock to get up and said, "Not this time." And then hit him when AA and then won the match, I believe. I remember the crowd being like, "Let's go Cena. Cena sucks." I was at the age where I was part of the Cena sucks crowd at the time because I wanted him to turn heel. I wanted the Shield to actually get involved and help John Cena and Cena turn heel. Like, that's what I was hoping for that Mania main event. I don't know how I still remember that. It just came back to me.
So you remember a lot more details about that. And it might be because of age, because you remember a lot more details about that WrestleMania than I do.
I mean, it was less than half my life ago.
Yeah.
Almost, yeah, almost less than half my life ago. Close to half of it. So it was. I still remember a lot of it. Very excited for this one, so I can fully remember it. So I can fully remember like the entire day. Hopefully, we can take a picture, send it to the poker group chat. Us with like the ring in the background somehow, with the stage in the background.
I'll
Moving
get you
on
down.
though.
I'll get you down to the seats somehow. Don't worry, we'll
Yeah,
see.
one of the days get me down to the seats if I can find a cheaper seat for night two. Because I'm gonna. What is it? I might be. The prices went up for night two.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna wait a little longer. It might be like a buy day of type of thing. Cause they're gonna go they gotta go down eventually. Like it's wild that they went up instead of down. Like we both expected them to go down by this point. Moving on to the 2024 Hall of Fame. What speeches are you looking forward to watching most? And who out of all these was your favorite watching growing up? Or watching in your time as a wrestling fan?
I mean, it's kind of funny that usually whenever we have the Hall of Fame each year, you have multiple. I want to say multiple Hall of Famers that are, or potential Hall of Famers, that are more recent. And I
Yeah.
feel like Triple H actually went with a lot more old school kind of feel. I think it's very interesting that he went with the pretty much the headliner being Paul Heyman in Philadelphia, where obviously ECW started, where he made his name for the most part. I thought that ended up being a good choice. Obviously, we had talk about Batista being in it, had talk about Bray Wyatt being in it. Unfortunately, because he just passed away, I still think it's a good. That's who I'd be looking forward to most. Is just because of
Mhm.
especially how he talks, based on who he is, where it is. It's got to be looking forward to just seeing Heyman.
I actually saw a clip this week on the John Clark Takeoff podcast that he has. Paul Heyman was on it this week. You know what part of the inspiration for ECW was? You're not gonna like it. A
Go
lot
ahead.
they were a villainous team back then.
Who?
Everyone hated them.
Who?
He said the Broad Street Bullies, to a degree, had an inspiration for ECW because they were like the villain, but Philly loved them. So
Yeah.
Philly was one of the places that would be able to work for ECW. He said Philly would is like the only place that it would have been able to work in at the time, which I thought was pretty cool. It was a pretty interesting podcast. I'd recommend people to go and watch the episode along with some other stuff that came out this week. You watched the Bray doc. I haven't gotten a chance to watch that, the Roman documentary. Roman is actually in introduce or inducting Paul Heyman into the Hall of Fame, which will be really cool. The Muhammad Ali one will be cool, seeing his wife talk about Muhammad Ali. Leah Maivia, The Rock's grandmother, she was the Samoan wrestling promoter. I sent you that the other day. That'll be really cool hearing her stories. She was married to Peter Maivia. Thunderbolt Patterson, I'm not sure really much about him. I'm not sure if you know more. You'd probably know more about him than I do. Bull Nakano. I remember that was funny when it was announced she's going in. Do you remember what I said to you?
I don't want to say you. I don't want to say you said like something like who, but
Yeah, I said who, and I said they're just letting anyone in now. I'd never heard her name in my life. It'll be cool though to hear like who she was. Do you remember
I,
anything about Thunderbolt Patterson and Bull Nakano?
I think you think I'm older than I am,
Yeah, no,
but
I know. But
no,
I don't know how
I
old
don't.
those two people are. Is the
No, I
problem?
don't know. Thunder will pass, and I don't know. Bull Nakano, I've never like watched her to know that much to know who she is, but I have heard of her before
Hmm.
this. So I didn't go fully who, but no,
Yeah,
but she's I'm not too familiar with her. She was more before my time,
yeah.
but I have heard her name before, prior to this.
And then you mentioned Bray Wyatt. his dad and uncle are going into the Hall of Fame. I'm pretty sure those two are going to get emotional. Bray Wyatt will probably come up at some point. Having passed away, one of them will probably bring him up. The U.S. Express, Mike Rotunda, and Barry Windham. That'll be an interesting induction seeing those two. Mike Rotunda, more well known as the IRS man. I think a lot of people know him as the IRS man. That induction will be really cool. I actually saw that they were on the WrestleMania 1 card. Not Paul Heyman. Muhammad Ali was as well. And did you get a chance to watch the documentary on WrestleMania 1 this weekend?
I have not. I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of clips of it. I've watched parts of it. After well after, not during WrestleMania 1. I wasn't born yet. But no, I've watched a good amount of actually WrestleMania 1. I've seen a lot of it.
The reason I brought it up is because since the US Express was on that card, and Steve had actually mentioned it in the poker group chat, Steve Bufflett. I saw the card. There's one person on that card who has a son on the card for WrestleMania 40. You want to take a guess?
Yeah.
It's gonna be obvious once you think about it.
The only person I can think of was Cowboy Bob Orton.
Yep, Cowboy Bob Orton
That's
was
the
on
only
the
person I
card.
can think it could be.
Randy Orton on WrestleMania 40 years later, which is crazy. Speaking back to the 2024 Hall of Fame, Paul Heyman going in, I think he's going to break down and cry. When I was watching the podcast he was on, he seems like he doesn't really soak everything in, like take time to enjoy, because he's always worried about what's next. I think when he's giving his speech, you're going to see some tears come out of Paul Heyman, because it's all going to come back to him. All the good memories are going to come back to him. I think he's going to cry during his speech.
Did you see? I don't know if he really will do this, but did you see what he said about his speech?
Mm-mm.
He's just gonna
Not
wing
completely. Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not planning it. I'm not gonna write it out. Let's see how the crowd in Philly is, and let's just go with it. I'm like, well,
I think he's gonna do that, but I think winging it, he might get choked up. Definitely winging it. Paul Heyman seems like the guy who would just wing it. Like he seems like a guy who could just talk for hours.
That's usually his best work. So
yeah. Interested to see that Friday night. I actually bought a ticket, so I'll be there in person. First ever time I get to watch the Hall of Fame. It'll be my first SmackDown event since like 2010. I haven't been to a Raw or SmackDown since like 2010. Last WWE event I was actually at was Royal Rumble 2015. The Rock was at that event as well. Roman got booed out of the building that night. Everyone wanted Daniel Bryan to win. The Yes movement was still kind of in effect at that time. What is the last wrestling event you got to go to?
When you were talking actually about going to Royal Rumble, that I started thinking of like, wait, when is the last time I've gone to anything? And I cannot even at this minute. Oh, I'm wrong. I now know it. I can figure it out because I watched it again last night. Last time I was at a event happened to be SummerSlam 2019.
Where was that at?
So I had actually taken a trip by myself up to Toronto as a vacation. And that is kind of funny because I didn't plan on anything happening. Like I didn't know anything was going to be going on in Toronto at the same time. And it just happened to be SummerSlam weekend while I was up there. So I ended up going to NXT and I ended up going to SummerSlam. The SummerSlam 2019 is mostly known as the beginning of The Fiend.
The Fiend.
Bray Wyatt's
was
character.
2019. Hold up. I got to look up 2019 SummerSlam. I don't remember what's going on then.
So yeah, Bray Wyatt changed his character up as the Fiend. That was when he his first match against Finn Balor.
Was it Roman against Brock? Looking at this,
might have been.
I'm double checking.
A couple of matches on there.
Main event was Brock Lesnar against Seth Rollins.
There you go. Yeah, it wasn't. I didn't think it was Roman.
I did not remember this.
But yeah.
Samoa Joe was still there. All right, so here's the match card. I know that says 205 Live. What? Where? I can't even find the match card. Preliminary matches. Dolph Ziggler, Goldberg. The hell? When the
That's not correct, by the way.
Dolph Ziggler, Goldberg? You said that's not correct?
I don't think that. I don't believe that's. No, wait. Don't make me go back to my pictures. They have to go find out what the match card was.
AJ Styles versus Ricochet? I don't remember any of these matches. That's wild.
See, that was
Yeah, this
that was the
Wikipedia
last
is way wrong. This says Kevin Owens put. Oh no, I remember that.
So that
He
was
put
the
his career
last.
on the line against Shane.
That was the last one I actually was at, but it's not the last one I was supposed to be at. If you couldn't tell, my second of all time favorite wrestler is Bray Wyatt. Rest in peace. Undertaker is my number one. And the what would have been my last pay-per-view was actually Extreme Rules in Philadelphia. Was when he made his return a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually I was supposed to go to that, and I ended up being sick that day, so I ended up not going to the one in Philly. Yeah, that was actually supposed to be my last match.
I think I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
Was it when they did like the glow in the dark match? The Mountain
No,
Wyatt?
that was that was
Everything
Heel,
runs
I think.
together.
Yeah, pretty much.
Except for this year, stuff definitely isn't running together. I got all my storylines straight. Very excited for this Mania. Which is your favorite match on WrestleMania Saturday? I already have my ticket to Saturday. I need a ticket for Sunday still. But what is your favorite match on WrestleMania Saturday?
There's gonna be a couple. There's 3 I'm looking forward to more than. Well, I shouldn't say, because I'm one on enough. Everyone's gonna think it's gonna be the main event, and it's actually not. I think the ladder match is going to be really, really good. I love how they kind of started stressing, oh, you have basically each set of titles has to be taken
Yeah.
down. So it's kind of leaning towards, hey, we're going to split up the titles this way. Jimmy versus Jay is going to be, I think, a great match. I didn't know how it was going to be with them both being single stars now after being a tag team for well over a decade. I think both are, especially Jay, is taken off and ran with it. I'm looking forward to that match now. And the other would be, surprisingly, I think Rhea and Becky is going to actually end up being a very good match by the end of it.
That built up like with a lot within the last 2 weeks. Once Rhea made that comment 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, to Becky about her kid for the storyline. That's when it really spiced up. That's when I was like, oh shit, I'm interested in this match now. And then Becky made the comment basically calling Rhea, what's a good word that I can use that's appropriate for the podcast?
That's your choice. Your choice.
Yeah, just gonna leave that for your imagination. I'm gonna leave that for the viewer's imagination. If you watched it, you know. If you know, you know. We'll go over our predictions. My favorite match on this card, though, is Jimmy J for night 1. I think that match is gonna tear the house down. I'm very excited for that ladder match, like you said. I've never even seen a ladder match in person, so that'll be a new one, no experience. Starting with Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair. I can't even see the last one. I forget who the last one is. Naomi versus Damage Control. Who do you think wins that match?
I can't see. It's not Jay's technically her debut, but her debut is at the Royal Rumble, where you can kind of pick and choose how she looks. I can't see though her with how much fanfare behind her that she's not going to win, and she's going to probably get the pin. to do it.
The only what was that? Look, the only thing I can see maybe happening in this match, though, I think you're right. I think Cargo, Bianca, and Naomi are gonna win. But the only other thing I could see maybe is a swerve. Jade and Bianca start like a program somehow. Like one of them costs the other one somehow, or they run into each other, and that winds up costing them the match.
I do think they're gonna have a match. I think they're gonna try and build that to SummerSlam though,
Yeah,
more than anything else, which I don't think they're gonna do just yet.
that I think that's gonna be cool to see Jade Cargill, see what she has, given she's fairly new. Moving on to Santos Escobar and Dirty Dom. Dirty Dom, that's gonna be insane in person. He's one of my favorites actually, just because seeing the whole crowd bill him, and he's younger, on the younger side of things. Versus Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee. Who do you want to win, and who do you think's gonna win? This is
This
your bathroom
match,
break match. I remember you saying that.
this match, I can't believe it's on the card. No, they've been recycling this match in a way like for so long. Between LWO, between Ray versus Dom, there's a lot.
Dom and Dragon Lee in NXT.
Yeah. So I think when they put this on the card, my first thought was this is Ray's last match, and I think because of that, Dominic pins him. I think that's how he's going to want to go out. To be honest, we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of LWO story that they are going to somehow tie in for another year. So
I think Ray might go like one more year, because I think Carlito is turning heel in this match. When Ray chose Dragon Lee on SmackDown, the camera kept cutting to Carlito, showing Carlito in the background. I think that was foreshadowing, because Carlito should have been an obvious pick. Could have been a pick here. But he chose not to pick Carlito. Carlito's going to take that a certain way and turn heel. I think Santos and Dom win this match. I think you're right. I think Dom gets a pin on Ray. I think they should have done another build towards just Ray versus Dominic. Like, I think that would have been a more exciting match. Just Ray Dom part 2, because Dom could have been pissed off he lost last year. And it could have been Ray's actual retirement match and let Dom win. But I think Dom and Santos get the win here. Jimmy J, who do you think gets the win?
Oh, the amount of times you're going to hear the word "yeet" on Saturday. It's gonna be. This is actually one of the few I don't know who. There's so many ways you can argue each one is going to win this. Like Jimmy needs it more. It's for the story. It's kind of does make sense to Jimmy to win more, but Jay is just so over. Not even just with like he's like I said before, he upped his game the second he became a single star. They both have, but I think he has more so to an extent. And he's just I think Jay wins, but this is the probably like closest pick I think I would say that I have on this one, because it could go either way for this one.
Yeah, I think it could go either way here. The thing that gets me is, WWE wants it like split on how many heels versus faces win. They want it kind of even throughout the show. So it depends on what they do in the other matches. I think I'm actually going to go Jimmy gets a win here. And then they hug afterwards, though. I think somehow, some way they'll hug afterwards, unless Jimmy wins dirty and uses like a roll up, grabs tights, which I could see like some screwy finish this match, which would suck, because I think this match is going to tear the house down. But very exciting for this match. We were talking at Poker on Monday. I think this match should definitely open Mania. It has an opener feel to it. You start off the show right. Start off the show with the crowd very involved, and let the crowd let those two just go to work and put on a match. Moving on to the 6-pack ladder match. I already know what half of it's going to be. I think you do too. I already know who's grabbing the Raw tag titles. The question is who's grabbing the SmackDown tag titles.
Who do you think is who do you think is Raw? I'm just curious.
It's going to be the first titles to come down. R-Truth and Miz.
This is awesome truth.
R-Truth is going to grab that title, and then he's going to walk back down the ladder. Miz is going to look at him and be like, what are you doing? You're supposed to try to grab both.
I think who was on the Raw side? It's Awesome Truth, DIY,
Judgment
and
Day.
who else? Judgment Day.
Yeah.
Are from Raw, and then the other end from the SmackDown side, it's New Catch Republic. Absolutely hate that name. Great wrestlers hate that name.
Mm-hmm.
New Catch Republic, New Day, and A-Town Down Under. I think this SmackDown titles. It's funny because you keep hearing these rumors that A-Town Down Under was it Grayson Waller and Austin Theory may not even be in the match.
Yeah.
And because they might be replacing them with some other tag team last minute.
If it's the Hardy Boys, that's going to be so stupid. We've already seen that once.
Yeah, everyone thinks it's going to be the Hardy Boys. But yeah, I think if actually they're in the match, I think they win it. But I don't know if they're going to be in the match. From the Raw side, I think I think it's going to be Awesome Truth as well. They're going to give them a run with the title. R-Truth's been doing just absolutely fantastic work lately. And he's just been hilarious. I think this is Judgment Day does not get either one, only because I think they're going to finally, not that they're going to break them up, but they're going to try and at least, they got to do something with that Money in the Bank briefcase with Damian, and they have to get him off of, like, the titles off of him.
Well, I think whenever they do have him do something with the briefcase, they're going to start leading to something at SummerSlam with Finn Balor versus Damian. I think that's a SummerSlam match.
He does have only until, what is it, the end of July, I believe, to cash that in.
Yeah. I think he'll cash in. Seth took this long. I saw that earlier this week. Seth took the same amount of time.
Well, because he cashed in at WrestleMania.
Yeah. I actually saw a theory that Damian could cash in like after Drew, if Drew wins on night 2.
Mm-hmm.
Take Drew's moment away from him. Drew will be pissed, like he won, but his moment's taken away from him, and that'll build the Clash at the Castle in Scotland. And Drew gets his true moment in front of his home crowd, beats Damian, and then has a good run. And then you lead to a Damian versus Finn program at SummerSlam.
You can go a lot of different ways with that. Especially with you kind of want to give Drew though his WrestleMania moment, especially after him having it during COVID, during the empty arena. You kind of want to give him. Then we'll talk about Sunday obviously shortly, but you kind of want to give him like that moment now rather than just wait until in front of Scotland. But we'll see.
Yeah, Awesome Truth though is definitely winning one set of the tag titles. That's gonna be so hilarious. And R-Truth just grabs one set, and Miz is like, "You're supposed to grab both," and R-Truth is like, "What? We won." Moving on to Sammy Gunther, the Ring General. Gunther, who's winning the IC title? Does Gunther continue his dominant reign, or does Sammy get it done?
I've always thought that they were going to finally get the title off of him, only because they want to push him to win the WWE title. That's his next logical step. The problem is I can't see him getting into a WWE title feud right now, though. So because of that, I can't see him losing until he's about to get into a WWE title feud. I can't see him really losing his IC title.
I think his WWE title feud comes at Bash and Bash at Berlin, which I think is like September.
Which is kind of about the fact that we have all these international pay-per-views is just kind of
Yeah.
just
And I think it might come against someone like Drew, like two people from that area. Gunther versus Drew for the world title. Both of them like have a major following in that area. Back to the Gunther.
which then would make it more sense for him to lose it at SummerSlam than for him to lose it now.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if Sammy needs the title, but I feel like he needs a win. I don't know if Gunther needs this win. You can find a storyline for Gunther somewhere else. But I think the person you have take the title off of Gunther is Chad Gable. I think Chad Gable, that crowd will erupt. Sammy's already had an IC title run. So I want Gunther to win the match. But I don't think they're gonna give Sammy a loss. I think Gunther should win, but I don't think they're giving Sammy a loss in this spot. Because you give him a loss, it hurts some of his momentum. I think Sammy gets the win here at Mania. Moving on to Becky Rhea. Who do you think's winning that? Is Mommy winning it? Or is the man winning it?
It's kind of funny. I think they always have it where like Becky's never beaten Rhea or something like that. It's a 1-on-1. I think that's changed.
So.
That may or may not changed recently.
Or I think
Rhea,
Becky might be the last person to beat Rhea.
But with Rhea, it's just kind of funny because she's so over. She's probably the most over woman in the entire WWE, and she doesn't need the title right now. But it's kind of hard to see with the amount of popularity she has, the amount of everything she has right now going for her. I legit think, I know the reign's been kind of a lot longer and she's not been doing that many defenses, but the reign's been long. But I can't see them really taking the title off her.
Yeah,
with everything she's done.
I agree with that. I think Rhea wins this. She's been going viral recently. We all know why. Doing the stink face to Nia Jax was gonna do it to Shayna Baszler, but then Nia Jax did it to Shayna Baszler at a house show. I think Mommy gets this win now against Becky. I'm actually excited for Friday. Get to see her on the Pat McAfee show, which I'll be able to see that in person, which will be really cool. But I think Rhea gets a win against Becky in this spot. She has all the momentum in this match. I think she gets it done. The main event, is there really any question who's winning this one on night one?
Not to me, but I don't know. Now I'm kind of curious on what now you said that. I'm thinking like, watch, we have differing opinions.
I think Roman and The Rock get this win.
Okay, here we are. We are very aligned on that. Then yeah,
they're gonna do the bloodline rules.
Yeah,
for night 2.
Yeah, I think Rock is going to be the one to get the pin, and I think it's going to be actually on Cody.
Yeah, Cody's taking the fall in this match. Seth is not taking 2 pins in one WrestleMania. Cody's taking the fall in this match.
Yeah.
Which will lead us eventually to Sunday. I think we'll probably both agree on that. To the Philadelphia Street Fight, though. WrestleMania Sunday. This might be a bathroom break match for me. Hopefully it's like middle of the card. But you might get on camera for this match.
This one, this is kind of similar to like the LWO and Legado del Fantasma, and they've been fighting for so long, and then we're putting them on the WrestleMania card when they've already been fighting for such a long time and seeing so many variations of matches. And yeah, I think actually they just give it to, I think they give it to Lashley and the Street Profits. But this is one of those same thing with the Mysterios. We've seen so many different variations of this. It is what it is.
The problem with this too, it doesn't have a great build to it. Like, sure, they've been doing it for a long time, but there's not like a great build to build interest. Like the Becky Rhea thing didn't have a great build for a while until they had that one segment. The Pride, I believe their name is called,
Yes.
versus the Final Testament. Doesn't have anything that's built like interest truly. I think Lashley and the Street Profits get it done here, though, in a Philadelphia street fight. My guy Trey might get on camera for that match because what row are you off the ring?
No, well, that's Sunday, so I don't have the
Got it.
tickets yet, so we'll see.
Oh yeah, Sunday. If you're floor, maybe you can get. If you're close enough, if you're on one of the sides, maybe you can get on camera, which will be interesting. But I think the Pride comes out with the win in that match. Karrion Kross said they're going to go up to Section 202 on a tweet, which would be hilarious if they fight all the way up to the upper
The upper
deck
level.
somehow. That would be a true WrestleMania like moment. Moving on, AJ Styles, one of my favorites of all time, versus LA Knight. Yeah. Who wins that?
I it's kind of funny. This to me is kind of similar to the Jimmy versus Jay match, where you kind of don't know. This could go one of those. This could actually go either way. LA Knight, he's been so over with the crowd, and he's been so popular. I think they're trying to halt his momentum just a little bit. I mean, it's always been like kind of the rumor that they're trying to halt his momentum since they didn't really create it. It was more just natural. AJ Styles though, with the new character, the new change and everything, the new demeanor, it's kind of I could. This is an easy, like I said, either way kind of match. I think they're gonna have AJ Styles win, but I can see them like him putting Knight over very easily though.
Who do you want to win?
It would be nice if LA Knight actually did get some like get a run with something, because AJ is at the end of his career. He knows it. He said it out. He said it multiple times that he is. So it would be kind of more nice to see LA Knight get like that push right now.
I think LA Knight's gonna win the match. Personally, just because I'm a fan of AJ, just because he's one of the guys I've grown up with, him being in TNA. I want AJ to win just because it'll be my first ever time seeing AJ Styles. It'll be my first ever time seeing half these guys wrestle, over half these guys wrestle. But AJ Styles is one of my favorites all time, puts on great matches. I'd like to see AJ win, but I think LA Knight's going to get it done here. Like you said, I think they're going to try to give him some momentum here. Moving on, you got KO Mania 7, Kevin Owens, Randall Keith Orton, or Logan Paul for the United States Championship. Philadelphia is going to hate Logan Paul, by the way. Like that crowd's going to be nuclear heat on Logan Paul.
I think they have a lot of bigger things for Logan Paul. I mean, I don't know really how to put it, but I think he's gonna. I think I'll keep it shorter. I think they have Randy Orton win. And usually I wouldn't say that because I would think that he's wants the obviously they want to give him one more run with the title, with the WWE title. But I just a gut feeling on this one that I think Orton honestly wins this. Especially and I think he pins Paul to do it.
When was the last time Randy Orton was the U.S. champ? Has he ever? He has to have
I'm
been.
assuming he's
They'd be
been
talking about it.
I could not tell you the last time, and it's been probably quite a while. Like at least 10 years ago, at a minimum.
Randy, I'm looking it up real quick. That's an interesting. When was the last time he was U.S. champion?
2013. That's what I'm gonna go with.
2018 for 28 days.
Actually, more recent than I thought it'd be. Oddly enough.
That's wild. I would have never expected that. This is a match where I could see honestly all three of them winning. I could see Randy winning. I could see Kevin Owens winning. I could see Logan Paul winning, hold the title for a little bit longer. since I said I said Jimmy's gonna win the brother versus brother match because this is a spot where they could just do a heel just to keep it like even because you don't want too many faces winning, you don't want too many heels winning. I think this is a spot where, depending on what happens in the other matches, Logan Paul could walk out with the win. I'd like to see Randy win. If I have to pick the gun to my head, I'm picking Logan Paul to win this match. I think they keep the title on him for a little bit longer. And I'm not sure who's going to take it off of him. I think LA Knight could be that person. LA Knight versus Logan Paul down the line, maybe Clash at the Castle. I could see LA Knight winning that.
I think if Logan Paul retains, he doesn't lose until SummerSlam. I think
Yeah,
it has to be a big 4 that he's going to lose it at.
I could see that. Look, I could see Logan Paul versus like LA Knight at SummerSlam. You build to that because LA Knight needs his singles run with a title soon, very soon.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go Logan Paul to win that match. Bailey versus Io Sky. First of all, before you make your pick on that, Bailey should come out to her old theme, "Turn It Up." I believe it was called. It was called.
No. Oh no, that's loud. I was changing hers with AJ Lee's. Whoops.
Yeah. She should come out to her old theme when she had like the hugger gimmick.
I believe she was trying to get Paramore to play a new theme song, or whatever, on.
Yeah, I saw
on
that.
Sunday. I think this is probably, in my mind, the easiest of all. Was it 13 matches? This is probably the easiest one to call. The amount of over Bailey is, and the way they told the story. I can't see, and especially with Io's reign has not been great, to be honest. I can't see Bailey not winning this.
Yeah, I got Bailey winning this as well. I think more people have an interest in Bailey just because she's been around for forever. It seems like now. I got Bailey winning this against Io Sky. This is a spot she gets it done and she becomes the women's champ on SmackDown.
You don't realize that, by the way. Bailey has actually been around for almost a decade in NXT and WWE now. And it's kind of,
even on the main roster, it's been like 7+ years.
Yep.
Like 2016, 2015. Drew versus Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins' second match of WrestleMania. Does he walk out with 2 losses?
He walks out with 2 losses. I'll bury the lead right now. Yeah, they're gonna give Drew the title. They're gonna give Drew a run with this. Seth Rollins needs a break. He actually is probably injured. He is a bit injured. But yeah, he needs a break. And not that everyone's like tired of Seth. That's not really true. But he's gotten so much run that it's kind of like it's time for a fresh start kind of thing.
My question.
And I think Drew is, especially after everything he's done, between, like I said, the COVID years, getting him his rightful WrestleMania moments, getting him his rightful title run. I think this is the time they do it.
Yeah, I think Drew wins this. I think he's been hot recently with all his Twitter posts, all his promos. The promo where they let him, Seth, and Punk all just go out there and just shoot from the hip. That was crazy. Props to Paul Levesque for that. Triple H for that. I think Drew gets the win there against Seth. My question is, if Seth does take his break, how do they write him off? Next night on Raw, an attack by...
I mean, you could literally just have... Well, I was going to say you could always have him say he gets hurt, like his back with the 2 matches, obviously in 2 nights. But I think this is going to lead to, I keep mentioning SummerSlam. I think this leads to either SummerSlam or Survivor Series where you have Drew versus Punk for the title.
Yeah, I think SummerSlam should be Drew versus Seth versus Punk. If you can somehow set that up, that would be an amazing main event for that SummerSlam with that segment they all had. That would be a great match for SummerSlam. I think Drew wins this, though, and moves on as world champion. He gets his run in front of the crowd as champion. Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, Hold my ones up for people that know what that is if you're watching on YouTube. Versus Cody Rhodes. Whoa! Who
I'm literally
wins?
shaking my head now. This one is you can't run this back and have the same result twice. They can't main event 2 years in a row have the same result both times, in my opinion. At least not nowadays. Roman's been champion for I don't know what the number is, 1,200 days or whatever it is.
1100 because they're coming up on like Hawks, which is in like
Yeah.
100 days.
It's kind of, and it's funny because you kind of don't think they would end it so close to him finally breaking Hulk's record. But I should say Hogan's record. But yeah, but it's just when Cody came back, you knew he came back as the face of the company. You know he came back to be the champion. You brought him back to basically be WWE, and he
Yeah.
has to be the title. He has to be. There's not many people that can take the belt from Roman, especially after you give him a 1,000-day reign. It's got to be Cody. So it's gonna be, I think, Cody.
The only other person who can take the belt from Roman,
Jay.
there's two people, maybe three max. Sammy, just because the story, if you somehow reignite it. It's kind of hard to reignite that. Jay, maybe somehow, but I doubt that happens. Or the other option is Seth Rollins. But the problem with having Roman win is, they're doing Roman versus Rock next year at WrestleMania.
Mhm.
Roman's not losing the title against The Rock.
Yeah, you cannot have that match as a title match.
And at this point, Roman's reign is only ending at a WrestleMania. You're not prolonging the reign 2 more years, or you're going to piss fans off. Cody Rhodes is winning this match. Question is, how many people come out? How many people interfere in this match? You got Solo, you got The Rock, you got Jay, so that's 3. You got Jimmy, that's 4. You got Seth, that's 5. Who else gets involved in this match? Does John get involved?
No.
Does the glass shatter?
I'm gonna make a prediction. I'm gonna say a prediction. I mean, that's not a prediction, it's a spoiler. No, I'm gonna make a prediction for this. There's gonna be a bunch of people that may come out on this one, okay? I think no matter who comes out, they're gonna end up still having it down to where it ends up being one-on-one for at least 5 minutes after that. And I think they have Cody beat Roman clean, which is even more shocking. They'll have him lose clean.
Yeah, I think it'll be clean. I got an interesting question too before I move on to my top 5 Mania matches for Luke's list as we wrap up the show. How do you think they lead to Roman Rock? Who's going to be the face? Who's going to be the heel? It's almost hard to turn Rock back to face after the heel run he's on.
I think with Triple H in charge, you're gonna see a lot more like in between.
Yeah.
So you see, like, for example, Drew McIntyre, and he's not a face and he's not a heel right now either. He's just kind of like the old Stone Cold, like kind of I just do what I want type of thing.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see a lot more of that. I don't think there's going to be a necessary heel or face next year. I think if you had a face and a heel kind of thing going on, I think actually Roman would be face. I think they would actually turn Roman face, and then Rock would be more heelish. But I think they're going to probably both be kind of more in between next year.
The one thing that makes me think Roman could still be the heel. I want Rock to be a heel. I agree kind of with the tweener thing. But I think the best way to book it's simple. If Roman loses, which we both think he is, he goes off the deep end afterwards. Let him go off the deep end. Let him go crazy. Let him attack all his family members. Just go berserk. Turn into just pissed off, attacking everyone. For The Rock to be like, hold up, wait a minute. And then be like, yo, this isn't happening. And they have a match for the head of the table to be the tribal chief at next year's WrestleMania. Like, I think it almost writes itself. Roman just goes nuts after losing a title he's held for so long, and being
I,
like, that should be my title. I need it back, whatever it takes.
I think for next year's WrestleMania, they're gonna have, if Roman still acknowledges himself as like the tribal chief, and I think they're gonna have The Rock be the high chief, and then
Okay.
everyone, and then they basically say like, because the tribal chief was it supposedly tribal chief is like the right hand man, but he basically is not at the same level as the high chief.
Yeah.
And I think they're gonna probably play that into. I thought they could have played that into this WrestleMania if they didn't change plans last minute. But I think that's how they're gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
Is him keep calling himself the tribal chief, but then Rock's gonna be like, wait a second. And I mean
Yeah,
that plays into obviously the family, obviously his a high chief Peter Maivia.
yeah.
That's gonna play into family. So
It it's gonna be interesting how they lead to it. I'm very excited though for this Mania. Very excited. My favorite two matches for the card that I'm most looking forward to. Obviously, main event. Gonna exclude that though. That ladder match is gonna be high packed, like action packed. 12 men in the ring. That's gonna be wild. And then Jimmy J. That I think that's gonna tear the house down. Like, I have high expectations for like the quality of that match.
if I
Speak.
had a top two, it would be Jimmy J, but it's also good for me at least Seth Drew with the story they've been telling.
Yeah, I could see that too. Speaking of top matches, I'll let you give your thoughts on this as we wrap up. I'm gonna do my top 5 Mania matches of all time. Coming in at number 5, Triple H versus Brock at WrestleMania 29. This is top 5 Mania matches since WrestleMania 23. And I am excluding WrestleMania 25 matches because I did not watch those live on TV. It's all the matches I've been able to watch live on TV. Triple H versus Brock at 29. Triple H's career was on the line. I remember being in the stands like, oh my God, is this actually it for Triple H? With some near falls. HBK got involved in the match. Moving on to number 4, last year's night 1 main event, Usos and versus KO and Sammy. I put that there just because it's recent. Yeah, a little bit recency bias with that. But that match with the storytelling behind it was just insane. It actually got a 5-star rating from Dave Meltzer, who a lot of people have interesting takes on Dave Meltzer. But it did get a 5-star rating. And he doesn't rate WWE matches well, usually. But Usos and KO, or Usos versus KO and Sammy, that was a great match on night 1 last year. Last year's Roman Cody, a lot of people didn't like it, but I liked it. The drama in the match. Roman versus Cody last year comes at number 3. Taker versus Triple H at WrestleMania 28. The super kick into a pedigree. That was like one of the best false finishes of all time. Everyone thought the streak was over. Coming in as an honorable mention, Brock versus Taker at WrestleMania 30. The streak ending. No one ever thought the streak was going to end. No one ever. I could put Punk, Taker, WrestleMania 29 as an honorable mention. Seth versus Cody and Cody's return match. That was a good match. Watching that, just the quality of it. There's some other ones that you could put on here. But coming in at number 1, I don't think there's any debate about this if I'm excluding 25. Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker, WrestleMania 26. Shawn's career on the line. This match had so much emotion to it. Ended with Shawn Michaels being as defiant as ever, slapping Undertaker. Undertaker getting pissed off, hitting a tombstone pile driver to end Shawn Michaels' career at WrestleMania 26. That match, though, one of my favorite I've ever watched on TV. Any takeaways from this? Any disagreements with it? Any ones that stand out that you liked as well?
So first things I know, I'll go in order year wise. And this one is gonna be probably too young for you. It's funny because you said top five since WrestleMania 23. Number one overall is before WrestleMania 23. The best WrestleMania probably ever is 17. That's pretty like
Mm-hmm.
consensus with most people. And The Rock versus Stone Cold, the build up, the hype for that one, the double turn on that one, at the Vince McMahon all of a sudden siding with Stone Cold, and it was absolute start to finish between the promo video for the match, everything. I mean, it still is like the best WrestleMania of all time, 17, I believe, but that's probably the best one. But that is before 23. So even if I take that off the list, I thought it was funny because the first thing I thought of was Brock and Undertaker. I don't know how you would leave that off the top five, just because that was the biggest probably
Yeah,
shock ever.
that the
Um,
dude ringside with the shocked face with the yes shirt.
Yeah, that is a I when they hit three, I was at my house watching, and I'm like, what the just happened? um,
Speaking of that match, I still don't think that was the plan finish. I've never thought it was the plan finish.
it was.
I I've I've always thought that I remember turning to my dad after because he watched it with me. That one, I was like, I think they went like off script there, just because I think Undertaker suffered. He obviously suffered the concussion during the match.
Yep, right at the beginning too.
I think they changed it because of that.
Basically him and Vince, like I think the story was that he and Vince, it's not he and Vince, not necessarily that he wanted to lose it, but
Mhm.
Vince actually made the call on him losing it,
Yeah.
and he was such a Vince guy that he was going to go with him no matter what.
Mhm.
I think he had enough pull to tell him no. I've always thought that Brock should not have been the person to do it, but
Mhm.
I think it was a planned finish. I just think it was just obviously it started off a little off because of the concussion early,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, I mean that was the right. I mean, I thought it was the right decision. That was the made decision. It just I don't think it was the correct decision of who it should have been.
It was very shocking,
I
to say
thought
the least.
I thought speaking of the exact same pay per view though, Daniel Bryan.
Yesomania. Yep.
Yeah, WrestleMania. How do you not bring up Daniel
Mm.
Bryan or Batista?
Just
Uh,
because it's so long ago, I didn't remember
I like how
many
you
of
have
the
two
moments
matches
from the
on. There are
match.
three on this list before that match.
Because those three, the HH versus the Triple H versus Brock, I have a bias towards that obviously being there. And then the Taker Triple H, that's one of the best matches I've ever seen. Hell in a Cell, End of an Era, and an HBK Taker. That's my favorite match I've ever watched.
I thought the four matches, and it's kind of funny because they had him. They had, and that's kind of funny because Undertaker won all four. But the fact that they had Undertaker versus
Oh yeah,
HBK twice in a row, Undertaker versus Triple H twice in a row, Undertaker won all four. Um, and they were four of the better matches of all, like probably all time
yeah. I
between
remember
25 and 28.
leading up to 29. I wanted them to say screw it. I wanted them to do a triple threat. I wanted them to do a triple threat. Shawn, Triple H,
Mhm.
Undertaker. That would have been wild. Punk Taker turned out to be good. That could have been put on here as well. But that would have been wild. A triple threat between the three of them. Any other major takeaways as we
No,
wrap
like I
up?
said, you know, I think that's a good list. Like I said, I'm just looking forward to hopefully adding another one to this list this
My
weekend.
dad like to maybe the Roman Cody could definitely move up there because for 40 this weekend. because that match is going to have some drama added to it. And then some other matches, maybe Jimmy J, the drama potentially in that. Seth, Drew could be a great match. It's going to be a great WrestleMania, though. That'll wrap up here on Uncaged Sports Talk. Thank you for coming on again, as we're running a little over. Gotta get ready to post this and finish watching the Bray doc. That'll do it for this episode of Uncaged Sports Talk. Tune in to WrestleMania 40 this weekend. I'll be posting a lot of pictures. I'll be sending a lot of pictures everywhere to people. It's going to be a fun weekend. We got to take a picture together somehow if we can get like the ring in the background or the stage in the background, like I said. It's going to be a fun weekend. Enjoy WrestleMania 40. Enjoy the Final Fours. That'll do it for episode 36 of Uncaged Sports Talk. Remember to tune in next week. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe on all of our platforms. It is greatly appreciated.